Hello everyone, myself Adrija Dotto. Now I am going to present on the topic of opposite response of strong and moderate positive IoT to global warming. So what is Indian Ocean Dipole? Indian Ocean Dipole is a climatic phenomenon that occurs in the Indian Ocean and it is characterized by the fluctuation of the sea surface temperature between the western and eastern part of the Indian Ocean basin. So here is the clear visualization of the Indian Ocean dipole. So what is happening in the positive phase? As we all know that the Indian Ocean dipole is a sea surface temperature anomaly in the Indian Ocean which is almost same as the El Nino in the Pacific Ocean. So what is happened in the Pacific Ocean during the El Nino? The trade winds that drags all the warm water in the Australia and the rainfall happens there. So basically the northeast and southeast trend wind meets in the ITCZ and drags the warm water ocean pool towards the western part which is the Africa, and due to the drag force the warm water ocean pool is accumulated over Africa and the convection process happens, more rain and flood happens during the positive IOD. What is the negative phase in the Australia? So what is happening in the positive phase over Australia? It is the cool, it is the drought, it is the high pressure occurs over the Australia, which is generally the full opposite in the negative phase. So in the negative phase what happens? The Australia gets more and more rain and flood and the Eastern Africa gets the drought due to the high pressure condition. So there are the three phases of the Indian Ocean dipole. One is the positive phase, neutral phase and the negative phase. And here in this particular paper, we are discussing about the positive Indian Ocean dipole. So what is the effects of IOD over Australia and Africa? So effects of IOD over Australia, we have discussed in the previous slide, but still in the positive phase, the Australia gets cooler. So what happens there? The bushfire, the more amount of droughts happens there. And in the negative phase, what happens there? The negative phase, the floods, more and more rain occurs there. So what is the general months we see the Indian Ocean dipole over the ocean? So it is generally the May to December, and more specifically, it is the September to November, like the SON months of a year. So other than Australia, the Africa is also affected. So during the positive IOD, the Eastern Africa gets more and more rain. So more and more rain means the flooding, which is occur due to the more and more convection due to the process of the dragging of trade wind towards Africa. So what they have done in this particular paper, so they have done the 4 SST reanalysis products. One is the NCEP Global Ocean Data Assimilation System, GODIS. Another is the Ocean Reanalysis System, ORA 5. Another is the NOAA Optimum Interpolation SST, OISST V2. And another is the Simple Ocean Data Assimilation version, SODA. So, to assess the impact of the greenhouse warming on the PIOD changes, they have collected the 2 model data. So, what they have done the CMIP 5 and CMIP 6, the global climate models, which they have covered for the 200 years period, like from the 1900 to the 2099, like for the first year and also for the future projections. So what are generally the dipole mode index, DMI? As we all know that in the positive IOD, the more SST is there in the African region, and in the negative, cool water pool is there in the eastern portion. So if the DMI, the dipole mode index, is positive, it means the more sea surface temperature difference between the western and eastern part. So the DMI is basically the difference between the sea surface temperature between the western Indian Ocean and the eastern Indian Ocean. So what the results they have shown in this particular exciting paper. So there are the 2 IOD events which they have divided. One is the strong positive IOD events, another is the moderate positive IOD events, and they have created 2 different index. One is the strong index like the S index, another is the M index, and they have done the principal component analysis, and here below is the 2 formula for them. So in the upper graph there is the dipole mode index, and in the lower the red one shows the strong index and the moderate one shows by the green index. And we here very clearly see that the strong IOD index is very correlated with the dipole mode index here. So here from this graph we can draw one conclusion that in the 1994, 1997, 2006 there are the positive dipole mode index which is correlated with the strong index, like the strong uh, happening of the positive IOD. So here is a very interesting result. What is it shown here? It is the opposite response of strong and moderate positive IOD events over the past and future projections. So here the blue bar graphs are the results from the 1900 from the 1999, and the red one is the 2000 to 2099. So what they have shown here that the moderate PIOD events variability is will get to be reduced from the past to future, whereas the strong PIOD events variability will be going to increase from the past one to the future one. And here is the result for the different models they have simulated this data. So here is the different anomalies they have seen during the strong positive IOD events. First one is the SST and wind stress anomalies for the three different positive IOD events, and here it is very clearly shown that the warm water ocean pool is seen over the African region, which means the flood, and the cool water mass is seen in the Australian portion, which means the drought was there in that particular year. So it is the convection. So we can very clearly say that convection is also higher in the portion of Eastern Africa. And here is the vertical temperature anomalies. What we can very clearly see here that in the depth also there is a warm ocean water pool which is very clearly distinguishes from the eastern portion to the western portion. So this is the temperature tendency during the strong PIOD events and the moderate one. So in the strong PIOD events, we can very clearly see the contrast between the red and blue color. So it is the contrast between the temperature difference over there, which is nominal than the strong IOD in the moderate one. So here we can see the different simulations of the strong and moderate PIOD events by the different models. So this is basically the average ensembled SST, wind stress, latent heat flux and total heat flux change between the future and the present day climate, which was accumulated here for the 3 months September, October and November. And here is a very interesting results they have shown here, that we have always say that the El Nino is related with the positive IOD events. Right, so what they have shown here that the strong PIOD events is getting reduced with the increase in El Nino, but the moderate PIOD events is going to get increased with the El Nino get increased. So it is a very interesting results they have shown here. So in conclusion, I can say that in opposite response to greenhouse warming with increased sea surface temperature variability of strong positive IOD events but decreased sea surface temperature variability of moderate positive IOD events would be there in the near future. And the two types of PIOD events, like the strong one and the moderate one, which are driven by the different factors, are here distinguished very perfectly. And the El Nino effects are not always correlated with the positive IOD events, and they have shown here statistically. And the results from the ensembled average of the different climatic models, we can see here the past projections in consideration with the future projections, how the climate vary, how the latent heat flux, total heat flux and the sea surface temperature, wind stress, all these things will vary in the near future. So these are the references, and thank you.